I got to kick this thing off. Can I kick it off? 1, 2, 3, 4. Ladies and gentlemen, listen.
Conversate with Us Radio presents the Man Listed Show. We are the blackest radio show on the internet. We bring you our opinion on topics that affect the Black community in an effort to enlighten, enrich, and empower every brother and sister that falls under the sound of our voice. We operate on a no-hating frequency, so be prepared for us to be 100% real and 100% Black all the time. Please follow the show on Facebook and Instagram at Man Listed Show. You can go to the link in our bio on Instagram. You can buy our merchandise. We got books, we got hoodies, t-shirts, all of that. And make sure you go click that bell icon on YouTube. Subscribe to the show. We just made it to 501 subscribers. I know that's low for a show that's been around as long as ours. So that's why we need you to help us build it up. So make sure you go and subscribe to the show so we can keep spreading this good knowledge. I'm your host, Marv B. Let's bring the crew in. It's all bad, man. So, the Supreme Court voted 6-3 on a decision for a case. I believe the name, I'm not sure if I'm going to pronounce the name right. I'm going to say it's Callais, but it's Louisiana versus Callais. So basically, the state of Louisiana, they were trying to create another majority Black district. And this case went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court basically ruled in a way that gutted the Voting Rights Act. Now, for those who don't know, when you talk about the major civil rights acts that were put forward, the Voting Rights Act really was put into place to protect Black people, and it was to keep the southern states from doing a lot of the racial gerrymandering that they were doing, the dirty tricks like, poll taxes, literacy tests, things of that nature. It was to keep them from doing that. Anything that they would try to do to try to limit the Black vote, this law was put into place so that we as Black people were protected. So day by day, year by year, the Republicans, the conservatives, wherever you want to put it on, they have been working to whittle away at that protection that the government has given us through these acts. So this right here has been somewhat, what some people would call the death blow, meaning that, there is no more protection under the Voting Rights Act. And how do we know that? Because those racists, I really hate Black people states like Louisiana, Alabama, Tennessee, they moved immediately to start redrawing the maps to limit Black voters. So what this means is the amount of Black representation that we will have in this country, whether it be on the federal level, state level, even down to school board level, is going to be severely limited, if not wiped away completely. So there's a lot that goes into this. I'm going to go ahead and ask the crew what they thought. I'm going to start off with Arika because this deals with the Constitution. It deals with the Supreme Court. So we're going to start off with our attorney. Arika, when it first happened, what was your thoughts?
I mean, par for the course. We knew when he put that Supreme Court in place that some major problems was going to take place. And I mean, Roe v. Wade, they not holding any punches. So, it's unfortunate and it's like a tragedy. But at the same time, this is exactly what their agenda has always been, is to undermine any type of power that disenfranchised groups might hold to prevent us from whatever they have planned next being in opposition to it. Because, we already know he wants to do another term. And with this Supreme Court, basically allowing him to do whatever it is he wants to do, and then allowing the voting system to be undermined and manipulated the way it has been, is going to continue to be a problem. And I'm almost like, you don't want him to die or resign, because then he gets to put another one in there, but also they're terrible. So it's like our hands are really tied. And it's like, you don't want him to die because then Vance will be in there. We're in the worst possible position ever. I don't know who was playing the chess game for us, but we are losing. We are down bad. So, it's one of those things where we're really going to have to band together, get these people out of this voter apathy stage that we're in, and make sure that we do something about it. Because Georgia, like you said, the Republicans are like loud about it. They're like, now's not the time to be scared. We need to get out here and redraw these lines and do all this other stuff. They're like, hey, they literally lobbing us the ball. All we got to do is knock it out the park. So that's what they're planning to do. We got to figure out what we're planning to do in opposition with minimal support from the political system, obviously.
I would only disagree with you on two things. It's not about targeting disenfranchised people. It's about targeting Black people. That's what they're really going after. And I don't care what anybody else says. It's about going after Black people. That's why when you look at, I've said it before on this show, when Elon was targeting government jobs with this whole Doge BS, that was targeting Black people and primarily Black women. I know so many Black women now who are unemployed, can't find a job, overqualified. If they're not getting hired, AI, I read an article where a lot of companies are putting out BS job positions just so it can look like they're expanding, but really they just, it's nonsense, right? So you got so many Black women, and nobody hates Republicans more than Black women, and they know this. So they're doing everything they can to punish our sisters. So, and I would say that, you said we don't want him to die. When I look on social media, a whole lot of people disagree with you when it comes to that. So I'll just leave that at that. So yeah. Lad, what you think?
86-47. I guess that means, but anyhow,
yeah. 45 and 47.
Yeah, 45 and 47. But, kind of like what Erika said, and like we've reiterated time and time again, once the court was able to get the makeup that it has, we knew that a lot of this stuff was going to be coming down the pipeline. The thing to me, though, is I've never heard them to be able to fully justify if they say you can't use race and determine it. So then why are you breaking up this district then? Because they're sectioning off these major cities into other areas. And so essentially you'll have some cities that are represented, some within the same school district, not just city. The same school district in the city will be represented by 3 different people in Congress. That makes absolutely zero sense, and they'll be lumped in with these rural people. They're not even similar concerns. They don't have similar mindset, similar things that concern them. So it really doesn't even make sense. So I would just love to hear somebody once ask them what's the justification of it. Not my fear, but I know, just like you said, Marv, they're going to be like, we want to shut down anything for Black people. And that's it. It's not, like you said, disenfranchised folk. It's strictly Black folk. This week I saw Roland Martin had a good thing about everything they're doing specifically to Black people, which, he's a Black man, you see that. But I was actually kind of shocked. I saw Rachel Maddow did one too on her show on MS Now. And, that's the thing is that, Roland Martin speaks to a certain demographic, and those people are already like, yeah, we know exactly what you're talking about. Rachel Maddow goes to a different demographic. And so this is the time where we need that other demographic to be speaking up as well, because it's us, but somebody got to do something, because like you said, we don't have the political system behind us right now, so we really aren't able to do anything alone right now.
And I saw something. There's a lot of non-Black people, white people, who have spoken out about this, right? Not enough, obviously, because they'll be impacted by this too. They'll be impacted by this too. White people will be impacted by this too. And I saw a guy, I'm gonna find his name, but he put a think piece out, and he talked about how no good this is. And in the final lines, he says, the thing about white people, they will do without and deal with any discomfort if it means that Black people have to be, if it hurts Black people more. So when people say, hey, listen, we can have universal health care, right? But we don't have it, right? We don't have it because, we would get it too. So when you look at Black people, obviously our strength is known by these folks, right? Because you don't target people that can affect you, right? They know if it's an equal playing field, they lose every single time. And the sad thing is that we have so many people who have checked out, of the voting process, and they say, hey, it don't matter. Yes, it does. It absolutely does. Now, we could go back to when Hillary ran versus Trump the first time. I think on this show, all of us, well, I'm gonna speak. I know for sure three of us was like, we ain't feeling Hillary. But we also said, but we ain't voting for Trump. We ain't voting for Trump. We ain't never voting for Trump. And there's a lot of blame to go around. But ultimately, it goes on to white folks. Because if 100% of Black people would have voted for Hillary, she still wouldn't have won. She still wouldn't have won. And the main people was white women. And I've always said that. They're the main ones who vote against their own interests. So I've seen a lot of people blaming folks before their messaging. Eddie Glaude, I don't know if Eddie Glaude is a PhD or what, but he was on somebody's show. Is he a PhD, Eddie Glaude?
Well, he's a professor at one of them schools, so I'm assuming he is.
Well, you can't assume. Well, I'm gonna look it up.
No, I mean, but I'm just saying,
But I'm gonna pay him his respect. If he's a doctor, I'm gonna call him Dr. Eddie Glaude. You know what I'm saying? But before I'm gonna say Eddie Glaude. Eddie Glaude, I read his book. I think it's called Democracy in Black. And in theory, what he was saying made sense. His theory was, listen, in certain states, it don't matter if Black people vote for, like, Texas, where I live. He said, it don't matter if you vote for Trump or Hillary. We're not going to outvote these white folks. So let's send a message to the Democrats, hey, listen, that you need us. Now, for the people who are in these swing states, we need you to vote for Hillary. In theory, that works, but the messaging doesn't work, especially when you got people who can't distinguish, okay, this critically think, okay, I live here, so I shouldn't go for this, right? And he got on TV and was all hurt and talking about he couldn't stand no more, and people raked him over the coals. Dog, we don't want to hear nothing you have to say. Same thing for Killer Mike. Killer Mike was all on the Bernie Sanders train. He sabotaged Stacey Abrams down in Georgia, meeting with Brian Kemp, and he up here talking about what he was doing. People say, man, shut the hell up. We don't want to hear anything you got to say. So I'm gonna ask y'all this, is it justified in saying, hey, we don't want to hear from y'all anymore because y'all are part of the reason why we're in this situation? Or should we just keep the anger and the ire on, who ultimately is responsible for this? White folks.
You know where I stand on that, hey, man. I mean, like, it, unfortunately, yeah, there are people that were anti-Hillary, anti-Kamala, and they were very vocal about it. But I will say this, like you said, no matter what would have happened, they wouldn't have won if every single Black person voted for Hillary or Kamala. So also, the people that are giving them hell, I guess you want to say, where were you at in this? Were you speaking up for Kamala and Hillary, or were you on the sidelines quiet? Because it's easy to play, armchair quarterback on the back end, but you didn't have any skin in the game on the front end, making your positions crystal clear and standing 10 toes down on this candidate or not candidate or another candidate. So it's easy to have hindsight. So while it's justified, I just don't think we don't need to go overboard with it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think us focusing on personal accountability is something I wish we did a lot more of, because instead of saying what they did wrong, what role did I play in making things go right is going to get us a lot further than criticism, especially like after the fact criticism. But yeah, 100% blame the white people. Because I mean, if you got the sword and you wielding the power and we just trying to persuade you which way to swing and you just doing stupid stuff against your own interests consistently, it's your fault. But also, I think that part of the problem is that we keep telling people what they should do instead of giving people the information and access to the information and hoping that they form some critical thinking skills that have been lost throughout the years for whatever reason. I don't know if it's technology thinking for us all the time with AI and everything else, or people just can't 2 plus 2 anymore without a calculator. But I think that we keep telling people voting is important instead of explaining to them the nuances of voting. So when somebody comes in and says, oh, well, voting doesn't matter because you're not going to win over here. No, that's not true. Your vote still matters because you need to make it clear that this scale could be tipped and how close is it and what are the people actually asking for, because if you're not voting, we don't have an accurate representation of what percentage of the people is actually wanting this in this state and not wanting this in this state. And like you said, also people don't understand that voting for president is not the only voting. So when you send that message, your vote doesn't matter for this, it doesn't necessarily distinguish from the other elections and the other, political processes that are necessary. I was talking to my kid about this the other day and I was like, I bet you don't even know what an alderman is. And the fact that people don't know what these political positions are, they don't think it's important enough to vote for it. So I think we have to go back to the education stage so that people can make informed decisions and not just be told voting is important, but they actually understand it for themselves. And so then it's not something that they're being told to do. It's something that they're actually internally motivated to do.
Yeah, and I mean, you make a sound point, because I get so sick of hearing young people, especially young Black men in particular, who, they stuck on Democrat, Republican, same thing, whatever. You know, on a very basic level, I understand where you're coming from, but on a practical level, we can't afford to hold that mindset. We just can't. Um, we saw this coming. We knew what was coming when it was like, hey, listen, they're going to stack the Supreme Court. You could say goodbye to Roe v. Wade. You could say goodbye to this. And, you talked about we talked about the different state houses and, Louisiana, Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia, whatever. They don't have any qualms about what they're doing. I remember in Texas when the first state to do it, redistricting in Texas. That's a hard word for me to say. When they were doing that, and somebody asked them, say, "Hey, wait a minute, you're only supposed to do this every 10 years. Why are you trying to do this now?" And one guy said, "Because we can."
Basically.
And what people don't realize is that for folks of that ilk, there's a innate amount of treachery and cold-heartedness that a lot of us can't fathom, and I don't know why. They have done everything they can to destroy Black wealth and to destroy Black people, whether it comes from stealing our wealth, stealing our homes, stealing our lives, our property, our dignity. Anything that they can do, they will do it. And they'll find a way to justify it. They will lie and retell the story in a way that makes it seem that they were justified in doing what they do. And I just don't understand why some of us take it so lightly when the history shows us, and the problem that I have with Democrats is that there hasn't been enough long-term strategy put into place. And I think maybe it's because the Democrats operate more like a coalition, whereas the Republicans have a unified mission and objective. It's listen, and I don't care who don't like this. How can we screw these Black people over? How can we maintain power? How can we punish them? Whereas we sit around, and I say I'm 1% with the Democrats is how do we help? How do we address LGBTQIA rights? How do we address immigration? How do we address trans? And then after you start talking about all of that, right, then it's like, okay, what about Black people? And when you're not unified, then it's much easier for the other side to just black dog you out. They don't even have the numbers, and they know they don't have the numbers. But they have been able to put their thumb on the scale and manipulate the rules of the game in a way that, like you said, we screwed. Or like what did Alonzo say on training day? We federally fucked. That's what we are right now.
I think, and the other thing about it is too is, so like you said, the Republicans are obsessed with maintaining power. We focus on, pandering to our constituents, which is good. And I say we, I use that term we very loosely. But I mean, if we went after the power, it would be easier for us to do the things that we are meeting to try to get done. So I don't understand why they haven't regrouped and focused on regaining and retaining power so that they can do the things that they keep promising to their constituents. But also, I mean, I think that if we had nonpartisan ballots and we could actually vote for the lesser evil in the Republicans, then maybe we wouldn't have the worst Republican in the world versus this liberal Democrat. And then people are so juxtaposed against who they're voting for. I think a different, it would be a different feeling after voting, because like I have a lot of friends who are on the ballot for judge in my county. I can't vote for any of them because they're all Republican. And there are a lot of them that are good that I would like to vote for them over some of the people they're running against. But by the time they get to my ballot, they've already won because there are no Democrats running against any of the judges in my county. So I essentially don't get to vote for judge ever.
I mean, that applies. Yeah, you talked about that before, and that applies for your situation. But I'm gonna tell you something. Um, there's a lot of white people in my life who are good people. They're good people, right? But never, never, never underestimate or never forget that they will only go so far.
So far.
They will not jeopardize the protection and the status that comes with whiteness. You may be welcome in their home. They may love your children. Yeah. They may walk your dog when you're out of town and watch your house and, water your plants and that old shit. But if they really, really, really wanted this thing to be different, we wouldn't be talking about this.
Right. Exactly.
Trump would never even come close to being in office.
And
so I understand what you're saying, but it ain't no we could vote for the lesser evil, because honestly, Hillary was the lesser evil. And they didn't vote for her.
But what I'm saying is she's still on the Democrat side.
I understand that's your situation.
There was a different, but I'm saying
that don't apply.
But I'm saying of all the Republicans running, we would have chosen a different person than Trump to run against Hillary in the first place.
None of the other Republicans could beat him. He ran against 18 other Republicans and he beat them all because they did not want a moderate Republican. They wanted to maintain white supremacy. He ran against 18 other candidates. So your vote, my little vote, Lab's little vote wouldn't make a difference.
Here you go. Back to the your vote not counting, but it does. That's
it wouldn't have made a difference. It wouldn't have made a difference to beat white folks.
What I'm saying is, if between the 18 people, the votes are going to be split and divided. So I'm not going to subscribe to the idea that it's not going to put another person, because the problem is when 18 people are talking, nobody's listening. But when it started getting down to the last couple of people and they started bowing out against Trump, it's because they knew they couldn't beat Trump against the Republican Party. But if they were going against Trump against the whole country voting, that's a different conversation.
But see, but you're also asking something like that to matter in a presidential election. You have to totally upend how it happens. So there's a reason why they start in Iowa for the caucuses. There's a reason why they start in New Hampshire. There's a reason why they start in these places where there's South Carolina. You know what I mean? So any type of candidate that might do well on the larger scale in a California, in a Texas, in a Georgia, in a Ohio, in a Michigan, by the time they get to those states, they've already lost 6 states. And so, the momentum goes, they're not going to get there. So why is Iowa? Why would Iowa be the first state to start? Like literally, I'm nothing against Iowans, but I mean, why Iowa? It's not a representative sample of the United States. There's no major urban city. And, I would think you would at least need a state that represents the nation where you may have 2 or 1 major city, and then the rest is rural, which is kind of how the US is. You see, you see the maps. Yeah.
Something, yeah.
And
Ohio.
Ohio, right. Exactly. So you would have to approach it a little differently, and it would open up everything, I think, a little more to more diverse candidates.
Yeah.
And out of those three, Lab, you make an excellent point. The only one that has a good number of Black people is South Carolina. And they just made it to where, hey, all them Black people in South Carolina, your vote don't mean nothing.
Right.
Shout out to Tim Scott. Let's see if you can hold on, bro. You was sucking Trump's you know what the whole time. I saw where it was like four Republican Black political representatives. They're not
Black men. They all
four
got
Black men. They're gone, and one of them fools is just like, I don't really care.
right. Exactly.
Fool.
Yeah, you was used. But also when you think about it.
Hold on, right to it. Eddie Glaude is a PhD, so Dr. Eddie Glaude.
Okay. Oh, I lost my train of thought now. What I was about to say. Anyway, no, you good. It'll come back to me. It wasn't nothing.
I'm trying to find a gap there. My bad.
Yeah, it wasn't nothing groundbreaking or anything. But
but it's Ricky, you made a great point. We have to find a way to overcome this voter apathy. That's it. Because they can stack the Black people all into one district, or they can zigzag the lines to split up the Black vote or whatever. Effectively, saying they're going to try to nullify what we could do. But if enough people come out, that's really our only. So that's one thing. But, and this is a big but, the Democrats have to be just as ruthless. Yeah. So California, you don't get no Republican districts. Illinois, you don't get no Republican districts.
New York,
you don't get none. Right? And I think I saw where they said the way the math would work, really the Republicans, if the Democrats could do what they should do, they really could be hurting themselves by doing this.
Yeah.
And then to put them in a position where it's like, hey, wait a minute, man. We got
slow down.
Yeah, we got
Also because like in Texas, some of those red counties or red districts are now purple because of the redistricting, because not only have they changed them, but the dynamic and the demographic in some of those areas is changing rapidly, and people are just soured on the MAGA folk, quite frankly. And so
they soured on Doge.
Yeah,
they soured on on ICE.
Okay, so when you said Democrats have to play the same game in California, that made me think about what I was going to say, and that's when Arika was talking about wielding power and getting power. I think a lot of Democrats like being the underdog, like playing the road game. They want to make it seem like they're workers, and I'm working to overcome the man. And because I'm not saying they're afraid to have power, but once they get in that position, then they don't know how to govern. You know what I mean? And so you build everything up. You tell people we need to fight against this, fight against this, fight against this. And then when you attain that power, then what do? You don't know where to go from there. And so I think there is a segment that kind of likes the position of being an underdog or fighting against the mainstream, quote unquote.
They just are ineffective, man, in terms of strategy. And it's been a long time. I said Howard Dean was the last one they had that really got them to where they needed to get. He got, helped get Barack put into office, President Barack put into office. But their messages, I saw Hakeem Jeffries said, the first thing we do when we take over the House is we're going to impeach Donald Trump. That shit don't move the needle for white folks.
Nah, they don't
care about if he gets impeached. First thing you should have said was, first thing we're going to do is we're going to codify voting to protect your vote.
Yep.
First thing that we're going to do is we're going to help you with the affordability problem in this country.
Yeah. Reinstate all the ACA.
It took me $55 to fill up my truck. This weekend it took me $99.
Man, gas it jumped 20 cents in the last 2 days up here. It's like $4.29 now, man.
We're gonna stop sending your children over to a pointless war. Those are the things that they should be messaging, right?
Right,
When they said the first
right,
thing we're going
Right.
to do was impeach Donald Trump. He's already been impeached.
right. Because that
He's already a convicted felon. He's
right,
already a
right.
convicted felon. And
That feeds into him.
he's still taking this country into hell. That don't matter no more.
Right. Right. That's feeding into the anti-government sentiment even more, because people be like, see, they're doing the same thing he was doing. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he's going after a witch hunt just like him. They're no better.
Yeah.
So, you know, yeah.
Like you said, I think they enjoy like attacking the system and, like
Mhm.
talking about how terrible these people are doing. But like you said, they don't have no strategy. They don't have any strategy for what they're going to do to turn things around. We're tired of listening to them argue back and forth about who's running this country into the ground. Collectively, you're running the country into the ground. All of you together as a unit. And then you keep taking these breaks, but then when it comes time to do some redistricting or some foul shit, all of a sudden everybody can come back in the office and do their damn job that we paying for. Like, come on, man. Like it's crazy.
You could take they play the morality, moral high ground card, fighting against the system. But once you're in power, you really can't play that morality. You got to be cutthroat. You got to be ruthless.
Yeah.
Once you're in
Do
power,
something.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
they would rather lose and keep saying, well, I'm fighting against them. I have, that's anti-constitution. That's anti-this, anti-that. And they feel good about themselves. They feel like I took the moral high ground.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. It's like they don't have any real fight in them. They just about that they got the bark, but not the fight.
Yeah,
They need to be out there getting it done.
I told y'all what it was.
Belt to ass.
I told y'all what it was. When they had the last shutdown, right? They had the last shutdown. And then the Democrats miraculously, what it was like 6 or 7, whatever it was, the right number they needed to pass the vote. They miraculously came up with 6 Democrats who were no longer running.
Yep.
To go ahead and side with the Republicans and reopen the government. And as soon as I saw that, I said, you know what? They are in on it too.
Mm-hmm.
And what did I just say?
They
will not go against the comfort and the protection that white supremacy gives them.
Right. Well, yeah.
They in on it too.
Not all of them was white though. That did that.
What was it?
There was at least one black person that voted for it to get it back open.
But you got to think too. Yeah. How many millionaires are in Congress?
All of them.
That's what I'm saying. They don't want to lose that. They don't want to lose those connections. They don't want to lose that. Oh, I'm writing a book, or I'm doing these TV appearances, or I'm shaking hands with this person,
or that access to inside trading. Shout out to Nancy Pelosi. Yeah,
right.
That part.
And I've said it before too. Really, the whole government, the way it's set up, the Constitution is just a piece of paper, right? There's really, and we've seen there's really no way to enforce if the executive branch says I'm not doing that. And so this whole 250 years, it's just been on the honor system, on people playing, keeping it nice, So if we really want to get to where we want to go, that Constitution needs to be ripped up, and we need to start from scratch. And I mean, I've said it before, it's not a lot of appetite for that, but that's really what it'll take, because otherwise you're just trusting on corrupt humans to play fair. And as you get more money and more power as a nation, people are going to be corrupted. They're not going to be beholden to those old school traditional values, quote unquote.
And I think they're scared too. They're scared in the sense because you remember when Biden beat Trump, they was like, shit, we're ready to Capitol.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have no problem with resorting to violence. They never have.
No, never have.
They never have.
Never have.
They steal, kill, destroy. It's nothing for them to do that.
It's whatever, yeah.
Nothing. Just standard.
It's always,
but they called us the super predators.
Right. Not to go off on a tangent on this, but it makes me think of like what's going on in Iran right now, where they're like, they can never have what if they had a nuclear weapon? The only country that's ever used a nuclear atomic weapon. Who was that? Can we guess who that was? The only country that's ever used one.
Literally
Ever.
us.
You know, so yeah, they're scared. They think people are like they are, and if they have access to it, they'll use it on us or what have you. But yeah.
Yeah,
That's
man.
really what we worried about, retaliation.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and you know, before we go, I mean, I talked about some of the black political representatives. We talked about Tim Scott. What's that one dude down in Florida? Got the little goofy ass
Byron Daniels or something like
Byron
that.
down,
Byron
yeah,
Davids or something. I
something
don't
like
know.
that. It ain't even worth knowing his name. Sellout, but the biggest sellout in American history, Black American history. Take one guess who that is.
The justice.
Clarence Thomas.
I knew, yeah, exactly. We
I
already
don't see
Yeah.
how
knew that.
I don't see how he sleeps with himself. I don't see how he
Uh,
sleeps. I don't see how he
he's
sleeps
a
tonight.
demon.
I don't see how
He
he
sleeps
sleeps
just
tonight.
fine.
He probably don't sleep.
You literally are a man without a country. You think these folks really care about you? You are a tool. And I remember seeing how they were trying to say, oh, he doesn't have a big enough display in the Smithsonian African American History Museum. He shouldn't even be in there. He should be a footnote. He should be
And
in
that
one.
footnote should read
He should
mistakes
be
were made.
he should be in one of those displays, you know, where they talk about, okay, like listen, you know, like where they like big people, they give them like a big old display, but then they have like a little small display where they talk about 8 or 9 different people. He should be at the bottom in the corner. That's what he should be.
And have an asterisk too. Yeah.
I was just about to say an asterisk. So some mistakes were made.
You know, how self-hating, self-loathing do you have to be
He
that?
keeps showing us.
And, you know, yeah.
And the problem is, like you said, he got to stick around. Because if he don't stick around, they're gonna put somebody who's probably even more weak and more crazy than him.
And
And on
younger.
That's
and,
gonna
and
young
25
and
years
much
younger.
younger and much
25
younger
years younger. Yeah.
and much younger, you know, to make to keep this thing going. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, and I was mistaken. Justice Roberts, I was misinformed into thinking that he was one of the more reasonable justices. And I like listen, one thing
Yeah.
about me, I admit when I'm wrong. Other
Mhm.
folks don't like to do that, but I will. I was misinformed. He has been the architect of dismantling the Voting Rights Act. He's been the
Mm-hmm.
puppet master this whole time,
Mhm.
you know? And it would be nice if the Democrats say, "Hey, listen, man," because I remember back in the past when they had the House and the Senate and they had Barack in office, and they was like, "Hey, man, push all this stuff through. Like we could change. Like you don't have to have 60 votes in the House. You know what I'm saying? Just make it a simple majority. Push this stuff through."
Yeah.
And it was like, "Man, we can't do that, man. Because when the Republicans get it, you know, then they could do what they want to do." Well, you see what they doing.
Want to do what
Period.
they want to do regardless, right?
Always.
You see what they doing, you know. So yeah, it's time for y'all to get some nuts, man. And I think, you know, to your point, Arika, we got to go back to the Panthers, where you had, you know, Fred Hampton, where they were coming out and they were, hey, listen, in order for you to be a part of the movement, in order for you to be a part of what we're doing in the community, you have to participate in these classes. You have to learn about how the government works, how politics works on a local level, on a state level. You have to learn that. And we have to be able to have people who we can trust, who the community trusts to be able to educate them onto why this matters. And it can't be folks on YouTube, even though we on YouTube, but it can't be folks on YouTube, Instagram, social media. It has to be people who are there who can pass the message along.
Yeah, I have an initiative that I'm working on with my nephew, and I was talking to one of my judge friends about it yesterday, and she was like, I would love to be a part of it. And it hadn't even occurred to me to include judges, but her perspective was that she's a public servant. She has to get elected to hold that position. So it's like important for her to motivate people to vote because she needs votes to maintain her position there. And I hadn't really thought about it from that perspective. I always thought about it from the perspective of my clients who come into court and they're like, well, all the judges are white. Well, did you vote? Well, this prosecutor is tough on this. Did you vote? I'm like, so these things matter, but if people don't understand how these things matter and how these things impact them, then they're not informed. And so I really just want to take it back to informing people so they can make a decision. You don't have to make the same decision as me, but you need to make an informed decision so you can understand, comprehend how important your vote actually is to your everyday life.
Yeah.
Just simple everyday people who are making decisions that impact what's happening to you or even just know what their job is, like aldermen and stuff.
Yeah, you're right.
So, I mean, but if we don't educate them, then we're just telling them what to do. And I think that's contributing to the apathy. So that's the part that I'm trying to confront is to focus on the education part so that people can be excited about advocating for themselves through the political system. Because it's right now, people just feel hopeless. And I don't know how else to restore hope without restoring education. And I think we definitely need to take control of educating our young people like we had done in the past. We relegated that power to the white people in the white schools, and this is where we've gotten. So we need to take that back.
And, hey, listen, I can't say it any better than you, but that's why when I said there's a system and a plan, that's why they target the schools.
Mhm.
And you think that they target the schools. That's why they went after music in the schools. Because they said, hey,
Mhm.
look at all these Black geniuses who were able to build wealth. And maybe 1 out of 10 of them may have been committed to the community and used what they have gained to give back. So we could target the music in the schools, and we could target the education. They are looking, we talked about Mizzou, where we all went to. Listen, all these future politicians, lawyers, doctors, people that have influence are being trained in this Black student government. Let's target that. They are systematic and diabolical about what they want to do to punish Black people. And never forget, it's Black people who they are targeting. So with that, I think we talked about it enough. Make sure you go to our website, www.manlistenshow.com, listen to past episodes. Go to YouTube, click that bell icon, and make sure you tell everybody about the show. We'll catch you next time. Peace. Shout out to C.
Yay, see you. We miss you.